everybody. We're going to try again, hopefully 3 times a charm here with Megs. She's a counselor and she's also had facial paralysis, which is very exciting for me. We've connected because I thought that that would be super helpful for people who are going through this difficult journey. Oh, yay, we're here.
Oh, hi.
It works.
Hi, Barbie. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Sorry
everybody.
about that. I think this is part of what we were going to talk about, actually, Barbie, was a little bit of my experience of when I first started my facial palsy journey, and I used to have to use dial-up internet.
Yeah.
So, hey, still technological difficulties. So
Oh,
I'm sorry, everybody, it's taken
don't
so long to
worry.
get to this
Now,
point.
yes, Meg, so you had Bell's palsy, remind me again, 15 or so years ago, or
26 years
26
ago.
years ago? Well, I
Yeah.
tried to give you 10 years there. Tried to make you 10.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, so 27 years ago you had Bell's palsy. Yeah. So
Yes.
just a little bit about yourself. Now you're a counselor, like I just introduced you at the
Yes.
beginning, which is why I connected with you,
Yes.
because I thought what a unique connection to have a counselor who's also had facial paralysis for people who are going
Yes.
through that. So yeah, why don't you take us
Yes.
through your story
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
fantastic day that you woke up with facial paralysis.
Wow. That was a day. Yeah. So going back, it's 26 years ago, and I was working as a special needs teaching assistant in a junior school. So there's obviously a lot of noise around and a lot of germs and, viruses. And I'd had the flu for about a week and felt under pressure to get back into school because obviously I needed to be some ear pain. But I knew I didn't have a high temperature. I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought, should I go to the doctors? I'll just wait and see what happens. So following day, I started getting like an electric shock across my lip, just as you would do when you have a dental block for anesthetic. And the hearing in my ear was so amplified that I couldn't bear the sound of all the noises, and I think somebody was drumming, and there was a lot of noise going on. So, and I wasn't feeling great, but I thought I'll just kind of carry on as you do and just see later how things transpire. Anyway, I was traveling with my family to visit some friends out of town. And when I arrived at the doorstep of my friend's home, which was about a 3-hour drive out of London in Bristol, she took one look at me and said, "Oh, you've got Bell's palsy." And this kind of froze up during the journey that I was on in the car. And it was dark, it was winter. I knew there was some pain. It was quite cold. And I'd got the pain was getting quite bad then. But my friend, being quite a senior nurse, had recognised what had happened. We were staying out in the countryside. There wasn't really a big A&E, department in the hospital. So the following day, we went off to a very small hospital to see the only doctor that was on duty, who did some of the normal tests that you get to see what nerves are functioning, to check that you haven't hopefully had a stroke, which I hadn't, and said, "Oh, well, you've got Bell's palsy. You need to make sure that you keep your eye taped down at night. Off you go, go back to London
Good
and
luck.
go and, bye.
Bye.
Have a nice life." And so I'd gone through that weekend feeling unwell, in a lot of pain, getting quite frightened, not knowing what's going on. My children were kind of, what's wrong with you, Mum? What's going on? But so I went to one of the big teaching hospitals in London, went to the eye department. They gave me lots of advice about taping my eye down, not letting the cornea dry out. But it was off you go.
Yeah.
That was it. Nothing. So bearing in mind this is the end of 1995, the internet was in its infancy.
Yeah, I can't
We had
imagine,
yeah, absolutely, dial-up. So there was nothing out there. I couldn't find any information. I eventually did find a forum that was in the States that you had to wait 2 weeks to join this forum, submit a question that somebody would obviously go off to a library and find the answer to. And so it was very long and laborious. And now when I think about how we can use Dr. Google and find everything out in 2 minutes, it's amazing.
Really?
So my journey started there and yeah, it was just assumed that I had Bell's palsy. And I never really questioned that, because even though I was in lots of pain, I didn't know anything about Ramsay-Hunt syndrome at that point. So I had a friend who was a physiotherapist. She went off and photocopied out of a book some diagrams of the seventh cranial nerve to explain to me kind of what was going on. So fast forward a little bit, I moved area. About 6 years later, I went to my new GP, and being the first doctor really who'd listened to me properly, realised that actually you haven't got Bell's palsy, you've got Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Has anyone ever told you that? And I said no. So I was sent to a neurologist, offered gabapentin or amitriptyline, and again, that was basically it. So very little support, very little care, very little understanding. And I was listening to your interview and talk with Elizabeth, our dear friend and facial palsy warrior, Elizabeth,
and she's here
in Australia.
Elizabeth. Yeah,
she's here. Hi, Elizabeth. And she was saying you have to be your own advocate, and I so agree with that. You have to somewhere find your voice, but when your voice is already hampered and difficult, and you lose confidence, and all of the psychological impact that happens with having facial palsy, it's quite difficult to do that. And somewhere you have to dig deep and find that strength.
Well, and also too, in an interview before, you know, I was saying also too, for people, if you don't feel like you can speak up for yourself, bring somebody with you. I think that, you know, if I were to go with my sister or my mom, you know, we're going to stand up for them like, you know, powerful mama bears.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes maybe we forget that, to take somebody, you know, when my dad has had cancer and you go to see the doctors, it's overwhelming and you don't know what to ask and you don't remember the words. And so, you know, take somebody with you. They want to help you. You know, they
want to help you. And also, as we know, we get brain fog as well from this.
Sure.
So it's very, under a stressful situation, your brain freezes, you've got brain fog anyway, and you often forget what you want, what you're going to say to any medics. And you know, I think we often go prepared with something and then forget when we get there. So the kind of psychological
doctor visits, I have to write down, you know, the 3 things that I'm here for, because you go in for an appointment even when it's a normal thing. So like you're saying, it's stressful, and I think we need to give ourselves a break and think like, hey, this is a stressful situation. Just because other people might not perceive it as a stressful situation, it is stressful for you. You know, a hangnail, if it's stressful for you, it's creating stress. So, you know, that's where, you know, we say advocate for yourself. And if something feels off, like Elizabeth was saying that, I don't think that this is Bell's palsy. Like, that's weird. This is weird. I'm not getting this little tiny thing. It probably isn't, you know.
Absolutely. That's right. And what began to interest me, because when I actually contracted Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, I was training also at that point on my very early stages of becoming a counsellor all that time ago. So I would say that this, you know, my health issues and probably confidence, but energy, you know, resilience, I kind of swayed my journey, changed my journey to making it a bit later before I could actually get back on my path to do counselling. But I think that was all part of life's interesting, rich tapestry, because I feel that what I've been able to now give to my clients and support them as well, if they have any health issues, but particularly if they've got facial palsy, I've worked through some of the psychological aspects that become very prevalent, that most people say, well, I don't feel confident in a social situation. I mean, when you've got facial palsy and you go to, say, a wedding or a party and you get given a plate of food and a drink and then strange people to talk to, well, we
Yeah.
know it's a recipe for disaster,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Totally. And the whole like kind of like looking at you kind of sideways, like there's
Mm,
something going on. You know, and you just want to
yes.
stand up and say, hey, you know what? I had Bell's palsy in my face or Ramsay Hunt or whatever it is.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's it. So let's all just get that out on the table. You got any questions? No,
Yes.
move
Yeah.
forward, you know.
Yes.
But we always
Yes.
worry about the other people. You don't want to make them feel awkward, right? And
That's
I
right.
do think so. I
Absolutely.
think that your experience with those kinds of things, or anybody's experience, obviously helps you in your career because you're able to kind of think, hey, we're maybe subconsciously, I mean, obviously you're a very empathic person, but thinking, oh, maybe that isn't such a big deal. Now, maybe something smaller, you really fundamentally understand
Hmm.
that that
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
be such a big life changing
Absolutely.
thing for people,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. And how it kind of can impact, your self-esteem, your self-worth. Yeah, what kind of job you do. People with facial palsy often find that they need to change their job. Perhaps their job was too stressful, it was too demanding, it might have been very front facing, that's very tiring. And just kind of it's like a grief journey of kind of you've lost something. You don't know you've lost perhaps your smile, but you've lost part of you. You've got a new identity and you're trying to make sense of it all
Mm-hmm.
and trying to find your way on your new journey.
Mm-hmm.
But feeling that you need a bit of kind of bolstering up as well, to feel that you can still contribute in some way
You know, and I
without
do,
perhaps.
sorry, I interrupted you
No,
there.
it's okay.
I do
It's okay.
also feel like even though like for me, for example, I have people around me, my husband's super supportive, my kids are super supportive, my mom's super supportive,
Hmm.
but I just love that we found this community of people who understand and
Yeah. Yes.
support groups of any kind, Weight
Yes.
Watchers, AA,
Yeah.
that's the whole concept of, of that, like
Yes.
something like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, they've been around for like years and years and years, like
Yeah.
so long. And
Yes.
it just,
Yeah.
humans are group people. We need to find people who
Absolutely.
are like
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah. And I found it's been so brilliant to have these groups. And, even when we had our conversation last week, but there's no judgment there. Whereas if you talk to people, strangers you don't know, there's always that feeling, are they going to notice this? Can they see it? Yes, they can. Or, all of those things. But I think when we did the kind of facial palsy awareness week, when we connected, and it was about all the little things, wasn't it? The focus was about
yeah,
all the little things, and I think that was so important that we talked about the little things that bother us that no one else would think about.
or think are a
You
big
get
deal.
in,
Like
yeah,
somebody on one of the
exactly,
groups
yeah,
yesterday, her husband loves going out for dinner, and she's like, was just devastated because she's like, I don't want to
yeah,
go out for dinner because I am embarrassed to eat. So I kind of jotted on there, like, if I have a big bite or eating where like I'll just cover my mouth with a napkin and eat and stuff.
yes, yes,
And but it's
yeah,
been 7 years for me. So for her, it's just been a couple weeks, but
yeah,
that's devastating. So that's a little thing, like
yes,
you're saying, that is
yeah,
devastating. And we beat ourselves
yeah,
up being like, well,
yeah,
it's not cancer. I'm not going to die from it. And then, so I think that
yeah,
that creates that vicious cycle of,
yes,
not even giving
yeah.
yourself the self-love that you need. And,
That's
that,
right. Yeah,
that I think is what we really need to kind of focus on. And I love how you brought that
yeah,
up, is the little things
yeah.
that chip
The
away,
little things.
at
Yes,
our self-confidence.
it
Elizabeth
is.
and I were
Yeah, yeah,
talking, sorry, the other day, and
yes.
yeah, she had to quit her job. She's not able to work now.
Mm,
So,
right.
that's very
Yeah,
hard for her as well. But anyways, go on.
yeah,
You were saying.
absolutely. No, I was going to say it's like wearing away at a stone, and it is. And there's those parts of your life, like you said, she can't go out now for a meal. So, you know, that affects her relationship, that affects her social kind of group, not being at work. And that's where I think you can find that a lot of people start getting
Yeah.
depressed. You know, they kind of, they're at home, they're not in their normal workplace. What's my function in life?
Yeah.
It's kind of, and yeah, if you are suffering from the kind of viral effects of as well
Oh
of the
yeah.
facial
I mean,
palsy,
that first
then
couple weeks
you
is
know,
the virus
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And I do
yeah,
think
and it
that,
can wipe you out.
and it is important. Like, that's why I'm so excited about this community that we've all created together, is because,
Hmm.
I just got a message yesterday from a girl who's had Bell's palsy for 4 years. She said that
Right.
she's never felt so alone, and she doesn't feel alone anymore.
Oh,
That's the goal here, is because
that's brilliant.
now you can
Yeah.
kind of be like, hey, I'm not a super weirdo because I'm embarrassed to eat out in public. Like, we've all gone through it. Maybe the little tip
Yeah.
of covering your mouth with a napkin, maybe that helps change where somebody
Yes.
who hasn't gone through facial paralysis would ever know that. And those are the little things that
Yeah.
I'm really excited that we get to talk about here.
Yeah.
And honestly, having your comment on the non-judgment, I feel that, and facial paralysis aside, I feel that
Hmm.
way about our group in general. I feel like I can
Absolutely.
hop
Yeah.
on, chat with people, videos don't work,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter, because we're all
Yeah.
here. We don't judge, and we just want to kind of
Yes.
be
Yeah.
together and hear other people's stories. And
Yes.
that's so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
Always
Yes.
makes my
Yeah.
day start off really well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does. And I think, you know, like I think you put a little video on last week when you weren't having such a good day and you went and bought a McFlurry. And that's brilliant because it's those little things. It's being kind to ourselves, being more compassionate to ourselves, giving ourselves some allowances. And I think, as we've probably said before in our own discussions, Barbie, that we're often the people who are really kind of hard drivers who do a lot of things for other people. We're perhaps quite empathic, compassionate people and end up actually wearing ourselves really thin. And sometimes then that might be the point when, hey, you know, you've caught a virus, it's come in, and you've got facial palsy, and you go, bang, how did that happen? Because most people's story is, well, I could feel something happening, but I thought I might wait and see the doctor the next
Yeah.
day.
Don't wait.
But if we were telling a friend, we'd say to that friend, come on, I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a comment here.
Yeah. So Heather
Yeah.
is just talking about the eating situation. Yeah, and it's just tough.
Yes.
So really, or I talked
Yes.
about with a while ago about eating sushi. Like, sushi is a big deal. I eat sushi with a
Right.
knife and fork. And
Right. Yeah.
those are the
Yes.
kind of things where just eat with a knife and a fork. Eat really, really tiny pieces, which is a good idea anyways. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we teach our
Yeah.
kids when they're
Yeah.
toddlers, right? But
Yes.
those little kind of tips that we can help each other out with. And it's okay to
Absolutely.
drink your
Yes.
coffee with a straw. And it's okay to do those
Yeah.
things. Like, who cares? Some people do. My mom drinks her
Yeah.
coffee with a straw, and
Yeah.
she doesn't have Bell's palsy. so
Yes.
so that's okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
grief is a huge part of Bell's palsy, and that's kind of something that I've been, connecting more with counselors and therapists and people who focus on that, because that's not something that I really made the connection with before.
Right.
And
Yeah.
facial paralysis aside, I think, like
Hmm.
you're saying, Megs, this happening to us, any kind of
Hmm.
major thing that happens to a human is changes
Yes.
your path completely. There's
Yeah.
stuff that changes your mental path completely. And so
Yeah.
whether your facial paralysis has really necessarily affected your career or your
Hmm.
forward facing life, you're
Yeah.
grieving something,
Yes.
and you're grieving that old
Yes.
self, even though you are
Yeah.
on a better path.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
what Elizabeth said.
Yeah.
You can be happy about the people that you've met and
Yeah.
everything, and still not be happy about the synkinesis. It's not like you have to say, yay, every
Yeah.
morning, get up and be like, so excited to have synkinesis because I met these people. You
No.
can have both
Yes.
feelings. That's what I'm working on right now
Yeah.
too. Being able to feel two
Yeah.
things at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we wouldn't be here today if we hadn't got this, and we wouldn't be here helping other people, and we meet some amazing people. But yeah, actually, every day waking up and looking in the mirror, or you've got your lipstick on wonky, or your other half says,
Yeah.
just got a bit round
Yeah.
here,
Not
or
today. Yeah.
you know, yeah, and today's a bad day if your eye's really closing. And I think, as somebody put here, put too much stress on their eye when they're eating. And yeah, I've had those comments when people have said, "Why does your eye close when you eat?" Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that's a long story.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah,
that
exactly.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole grief process is kind of, it's never a linear, process. It kind of, I was thinking about my journey, because it's been a long one, 26 years in. There's been stages in my life when I felt that I've accepted it. Then I've got angry about it. Then I've gone back to
Yeah.
acceptance. Then I've gone to turn it into something positive. And then it's kind of coping, of course, with
Yeah.
the other aspects of it. Like, I'll give you an instance. I've had 2 operations on my eyes for glaucoma. Now, that's not caused by this, but what the other contraindications that I've had because of Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is of the nerve endings growing back in different places. So
Yeah.
when I came to have an operation on my right eye, the anesthetic didn't work in the right way,
Now the right eye is
because the
your good
nerves,
side or your
yes,
palsy side?
on my palsy side,
Okay.
it, so the anesthetic didn't work when they were going to do the operation,
Hmm.
because the nerves are wired up now in a different way
Oh,
because of
right.
Ramsay-Hunt. So every time I would go to the eye hospital, I'd say, even if they were just putting the topical anesthetic in to do my pressures on my
Right.
eye, I'd say, I need 2 drops in here. And they go, no,
No,
you
you
only need
don't.
one.
And
No,
they
I
come
need
back and give
2.
you 2 drops, right?
I can tell you, put 2 in. And then I had one doctor who decided she would try and take the suture out in my eye, because it's kind of, there's like a slit where the fluid, sorry, I don't want to make anyone feel squirmy, but the fluid has to flow in and out. It's to control the pressure
Right.
and the fluid in the eye. She attempted to actually put this topical anesthetic on my eye and then use a laser to take out one of the sutures. And I nearly hit the roof. And she said, well, that should have been anesthetized. I said, but it's not. I've told you. I'll have to tell you every time. It
Yeah.
doesn't work the same. And I've had the same with the dentist. And thankfully, the dental receptionist at the dental practice I go to has facial palsy.
Oh.
And she has had the same problem with her dental block. And she said, the only reason now the dentist believes you is because I've told her I have the same thing.
Yeah, you're not
So I
making
thought,
it
it
up.
takes a double witness,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not making it up.
And
Because actually,
yeah, that's a thing. And
yeah,
those are the little things, I think.
Yeah.
What a great tip for people that
Yes.
Freezing doesn't work well for me either, but I can't remember what side. It is that side. It is that side that freezing didn't work really well. They had to give me a ton of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I had 6, and then I had a reaction to the anesthetic. And then they thought I was having a panic attack, and I thought I was having a heart attack. And but that's what, because they were doing a root treatment, and the anesthetic wouldn't work. So
crazy.
These become major issues, which causes more anxiety, more fear of medics, more anxious about going to advocate for ourselves again, to say, I've got to find the energy to talk to those people
or
and tell them this
crazy.
is what I need.
Literally just think you're crazy, because
person, you're a neurotic person.
Well, yeah. I mean, this person who's a doctor or a dentist, or my GP, he, like, I wanted an MRI. I said, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure it's not Lyme disease. I knew I wasn't having a stroke.
Yeah.
I knew it was Bell's
Yeah.
palsy. Like, I told him, I'm like, I'm sure it is. And he said,
Yeah.
you need to stop looking stuff up on Google. And I was like,
Right.
like, where else am I getting this information? I was so upset. I didn't really go to him much as a doctor at all after that, because that's what you're saying with advocating. I'm fine with being wrong. You're a doctor. I understand that. I definitely do not have enough patience to be in school as long as you, but I, like you're saying, I just want to be listened to. Just be like, hey,
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
Lyme disease because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, probably all the things.
Yeah.
But Lyme disease is a big deal. And what do they say?
Yeah.
You got to catch it early. So those are the things, like we're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wrap our talk up. I just knocked my computer over. I'm going to wrap our talk up just because we've been talking for a while. And I mean, you and I could talk on forever. I love talking to you.
Yes.
And, but yeah, like we're saying, just to wrap up, advocate for yourself.
Yes.
It doesn't matter
Advocate
if that doctor doesn't listen to you, go to a different one. There's lots of doctors out there, you know, and
absolutely.
You'll connect with one doctor that someone else might not, and that's okay. So just keep on going, keep on asking questions, keep going back.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You know, who cares?
Go with your intuition. You know, you're the best expert on you. You know what's going on for you in your body.
Yeah.
And if it's not right and you're not happy with it, and we can share it in the group, and you know, there's many people who are mines of information in our groups. But you know, if you're not sure, go and find out and just get the best advice that you can.
Yeah.
And
you know what?
if you're having a crappy day, get some support.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're being neurotic, that's
absolutely.
okay. It's your health. It's your face. It's your body. You go be neurotic. You would do it if it was your kid. You know, if my kid had something and I wasn't getting the answers I wanted, I'm definitely going to be neurotic. So, you know, just be your own parent, I guess we could say. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you, Barbie. Thank you, everybody.
And we'll definitely be in touch.
Yes. Thanks. Lovely. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.